Trust consulting services, using trust to keep your assets private. Here are the benefits of trust. There's personal privacy, avoiding probate, protecting assets, preserving inheritance, and financial wellness because it's important to protect your family today and for future generations. Let's talk about the history of trust because they actually date back for centuries to the time of Julius Caesar. Throughout our lifetimes, we've seen prominent families use trust to protect their wealth. We've also seen the privacy factor of trust, as with Walt Disney when he purchased all of that Orlando property to build his famous theme park. So in the words of the great John D. Rockefeller, control everything, own nothing. But why don't more people use trust? Well, there's just a lack of knowledge and understanding, and many think it's expensive and requires an attorney, which is why only about 1% of the population or less use or understand trust, and that's primarily the wealthy. The best reason to use trust is to avoid probate and lawsuits, because America is a very litigious society, and attorneys everywhere are out there looking for ways to sue you for your assets, and there we see a few of them. So which property goes into a trust? Well, quite frankly, all of them. Anything with value should be protected. And it makes sense to put them in their own trust in most cases. Now here are the key components of a trust. There's the trustee, and the trustee holds legal and equitable title to real property or personal property subject to the direction of the beneficiary. And the beneficiary retains the power of direction over the trust unless they choose to delegate that power to another individual or entity. The goal of the trust is to manage and secure the trust asset. The trustee must always put the best interest of the trust and its beneficiaries before his own. The other goal is to protect the interest of the beneficiary. The primary purpose of the trust is to keep assets private and away from public domain. So the trustee is not to disclose the beneficiary details unless ordered by a court or if directed by the beneficiary. Now here are the types of trusts that we use. We have land trusts, which keep your real estate investments private. Personal property trusts for cars, boats, jewelries, investment accounts. There's management trusts, which actually manage your estate and your other trust entities in some cases and provide services. And there's also a living trust, which holds the beneficial interest and provides direction with regard to asset disbursement. So it's a multi-trust estate setup to provide complete privacy. Are your assets exposed? Well, look at this sample of John and Jane Smith, who have their name exposed here on the property record here for their local county. Okay, this is just an example, but having your name on public record informs the world that you own property. So you want to avoid that, because with that exposure creates liability. Creditors can actually use court judgments to seize your personal property if you keep it in your name and allow them to do so. Now there's also additional ownership liability because having your name attached to your property creates other potential lawsuits. You could use a land trust to give your privacy on your property ownership. So in this case we have the Main Street Land Trust with ABC Corp as the trustee. So keeping your name off of public record but still controlling your asset helps you avoid these unnecessary headaches, as well as in this case they use a P.O. box. Now the other benefits of land trust is that it doesn't trigger the due on sale clause with a mortgage. In other words, the mortgage holder cannot call the loan due or accelerate it because of a transfer because it's part of estate planning. At the same time, there's no sales tax because the property was moved into an estate and there was no change of beneficial interest. So sales tax and dock stamps would not be required. Now the personal property trust will be used for a motor vehicle, which can create sometimes the most liability for us because we're constantly in motion. So placing your car in a trust can reduce or eliminate that additional liability. The title would actually be transferred into the trust and no longer be owned by you. You would be an operator of the vehicle but not be personally held liable for the car itself. That would be property of the trust. Other items that could be placed into a trust are your fine china, your boat, your jewelry. Now, with regard to the fine china and the jewelry, that's more for family dispute, because by providing direction, you avoid those disputes because it explains who gets what. Now, management trusts are great for direction. They can provide services and they can provide direction to other trusts in some cases. The living trust is really a beneficiary for all of the other trusts because, again, it's going to provide direction for the entire estate. Now, you should always check with an accountant with regard to bookkeeping, okay? But you could set up a bank account with your trust. We can show you how to do that. And you can track it just like you would any other entity. But just like any other entity, if your trust makes money, you have to pay tax on it. So, again, we always suggest speaking with a tax professional regarding that. What a trust won't provide is it won't protect you from foreclosure. If you have a mortgage note and it's not being paid, the trust isn't going to protect that contract or protect them from foreclosing. It must be addressed. Trust also won't provide protection from repossession. Okay, so if your vehicle's in a personal property trust and you don't pay the car note, they will still likely repossess it. You also want to pay attention to local trust laws because trusts are generally acknowledged by federal law, and most states adhere to that. But Florida, for example, has its own Land Trust Act and has state statutes specifically related to how trusts should operate in this state. Trusts are also not a replacement for insurance and doesn't protect against property damage or theft. So if there is a tree that falls on your house like you see in the picture, or your house gets robbed, your trust will not protect that asset. It is not insurance. Now, the living trust, as I stated, provides direction to your estate. What happens to the home or investment properties? Who receives the antiques and the fine china? Which son gets the baseball card collection? Which daughters get which porcelain dolls? You see, a living trust keeps you in control of your family's inheritance, avoiding those costly attorney's fees that come with probate. It doesn't make sense to share your inheritance with an attorney when you can keep it in your family. At Trust Consulting Services, we're dedicated to educating families about the importance of placing personal and real property into trust. We have trust administration, we offer trustee services, consulting packages, customized solutions, and even premium resources to assist you. See, trusts no longer have to be enjoyed by only the wealthy. You can learn how to eliminate your own liability and manage your own trusts. It's time to enjoy peace of mind, and we hope we can help you do so. If you'd like to learn more about our services or about trusts in general and possibly discuss a strategy for you and your family, give us a call at 561-755-7391 or visit us online at www.trustconsultingservices.com. Thank you very much.